Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to the Healing Through Love podcast. I'm Sharlene Lynch, and together we're shining a light on hope, resilience and transformation in the journey to end domestic violence. Each week we bring you inspiring interviews with changemakers, survivors, advocates and experts who make the difference in the lives of those affected by domestic and family violence. Whether you're healing or you're helping others heal, supporting people on their journey, this is our space for powerful stories, practical tools, and heartfelt inspiration to help you heal at the speed of love. Let's heal through love together. I'm excited today. We've got Madhavi Parikh. I hope I've said that right. She is a PA, which is a physician's assistant who has combined her love of medicine and meditation to help her on her own journey. But it all started with her own personal experience. So let's dive in, and if it's okay, to talk about what happened in your childhood to result in the challenges that you had.
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. So growing up in India, I didn't have the happiest of backgrounds. I had parents who were very domineering, to kind of just tell me exactly what it is to do. And the big message that I always got was that you have to be perfect, but know that you will never be perfect enough. And the other part to that was that you have to always be seen, do things that you are going to be seen, but never be heard. So with that, and being the oldest, there was always pressure on me to be a certain way, to do a certain way, to do things a certain way. So that constant pressure was something that got into my psyche. The other part was that my parents themselves didn't have the closest of relationships. They were constantly bickering, fighting, and I was always the reconciliator. Like I had to be the one to break up the fight or make sure that my mom didn't run away or something or the other like that as a kid. And so observing that was also, I think, it ingrained in me a lot of fear, and also the fact that you never know when things are going to go away from you. So that was one part of it. And then also growing up, I saw quite a few deaths from the very beginning. I lost a sister when she was about 2 months old. My mom she had severe thyroid disease, was told she wouldn't carry it to pregnant term, but she did carry the pregnancy to term. But our sister passed away when she was about 2 months old. And then when I was about 7 or 8 years old, saw my nanny kind of have an asthma flare up and suffocate pretty much to her end. And that is a very vivid memory in my psyche. And then when I was about 18 or so, my dad had a stroke and he was paralyzed from neck down. He was taken care of at home. My mom became the caregiver. I became the breadwinner, and trying to put food on the table month to month, making sure that we had enough, was also something that was a part of my life. When I was about 9 years old, I was sent to a boarding school, and I grew up in a religion where nonviolence is like, there's a lot of emphasis on nonviolence. So there's always guilt and there's always penance to do. And then I went to a Catholic boarding school where guilt was further a part of my life. So I could never, ever get away from the fact that I was never enough, that I would never be good enough. And I just had to keep on working so hard all the time to better myself. And I think that was also what led me to get bullied in school a lot. So that was part of how I grew up, but I also knew that I had to go through this. I just had to be an observer at up to a certain point until I could find a way to heal myself.
And that brings you to the story that you got diagnosed with cancer. Is that right?
No, I did not get diagnosed with cancer. I work in the field of cancer, but working very intimately with the field in the field of cancer, I began to see how patients were being. I was just seeing how who healed and who did not heal. What role did love play in it? What role did isolation play in it? What role independence and control played in it. And so I was kind of observing that as well to help me along on my journey. And then I found the practice of, but along the way, I also became a parent and I wanted to break that cycle in which I grew up in. And I needed to find a way, but I couldn't be that better parent I wanted to be until I healed myself. I can only be so kind without all the frustration bubbling up inside me to then share it with the world, and especially my children. So that is where my own healing journey came into play.
So this is regardless of where it is that we come from and what we've experienced, that we can live with a level of curiosity for others and help make that, draw the lines between the dots and figure out what's happening for other people so that you can help them heal. But also it needs to start with healing yourself so that we can break the patterns of the generational trauma, and so that we can live the life that was intended for us, but also help our children and also help others. So let's break down a little bit of what it is that you do with people to help them work through their challenges, cancer or anything else in between, so that they can move forward. So let's talk about the process that you use and the modalities that you use.
Of course. So for that, I had to first discover that process, right? Like I did not know how to do it. And so I came across the practice of insight meditation, which is a very scientific sort of practice as well. It is complete, you start with going to a 10-day retreat that's complete silence. So there's no talking, reading, looking around, watching TV, nothing. It's just 10 days of complete silence where you're meditating. But through that process and using your breath, you're observing how the mind is connected to the body and how the body is connected to the mind. And you see how you respond to the thoughts that come across as you're sitting and meditating. And slowly you unravel to the point that you start understanding what loving kindness is, which is complete acceptance of the self. And one of the big ways that I understood was that in God's eyes, whoever that God may be, in God's eyes, I'm perfect. Why am I not perfect in my own eyes? And so how do I accept myself to that level that no matter what, I am enough? And so when I started to understand it and then experience it is when I started to utilize it for my patients, like in my work as well towards my patients, explaining to them that, look, whatever we have, we can either be angry or we can kind of learn to figure out a way to move through this regardless of the outcome in a way that helps us find more peace and healing. So one of the ways I do that is utilizing the breath and helping them become aware of the breath, because when we are one with the breath, there is no room for thoughts. So when that allows for some stillness within ourselves, that we can then experience whatever, we can look at things a little differently and then experience it a little differently and not have to be so angry or afraid of whatever it is that we have to face.
Oh, I love it. But 10 days in silence for a woman who's as chatty as I am, that would be be
Actually,
hard.
the not speaking part is not the hard part. The dealing with the me, myself, and I that surfaces as we stay still That is the harder part.
Wow, that's fascinating. So, can you achieve this level of integration, this level of awareness, this level of spiritual intelligence? Can you reach that without having to go through 10 days of silent meditation?
I'm sure you can. Everyone has their own journey. Not everyone does. Whoever has found that, not everyone has done a 10-day journey. So it's just like, but there is a lot of introspection that is needed, I would think, because we have to listen to what is happening on the inside and how are we responding to it. Right? Like if my body is saying something, but my head space, the brain part of it is saying something else versus what my heart is saying. If they are not in synchrony with each other, then I'm going to be one person on the outside and another person on the inside.
That's fascinating. So, this is useful for people at all levels of their health and satisfaction
Correct.
and leaning into their purpose and moving forward and their expansion and everything. So, you've come up with a process that you share with people to help them move forward?
Yes, so I came across the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross that we all know from the 5 stages of grief, right? Like she's the one who made it popular that if we don't deal with this mind-body connection in a healthy way, then that's where healing is also affected, right? So she has the 4 quadrants of the body model, which is the spiritual, physical, intellectual, emotional. And when those 4 quadrants of our body are in harmony with each other, that's when we are at our best. And through life's journey, if one or the other is out of sync with the others, then that's when we are also sick. So recognizing that and figuring out how it is that we can come to balance with it will allow us to be resilient. And then we can, even if we are sick, even if we are dying, even if we are very healthy, we can still be the content people, the happy people that we need to be. So when I'm talking to my patients, I'm using that model to understand where are they coming from and where is it that we need to go, move through this journey that can be very scary because it's mortality in front of our faces.
So we don't have to leave it till then to pay attention to these 4 quadrants so I suppose it starts with having a level of awareness. Because if we don't know
Correct.
there's a problem, we don't know that there's a problem, and we just keep going on our merry way, and perhaps
Correct.
living in a place where we're blaming others, other situations, our DNA, our genetics, our family, our lot in life. We're living below the line by blaming everybody and not having that level of realization that we've got the tools inside of us so that we
Correct.
can move forward and make a difference. I love it. I don't know that I could do 10 days of silence. I love to meditate, but I don't know about 10 days. But I do
Do a
love
little bit of breath work.
I do love the concept. I'd much rather go on a retreat and eat. I'm a big eater. I love it. So
Fun.
fabulous. So you're asking people to give that silence, so for that internal awareness, so that you can make that level of connection between your thought, your physical, your spiritual, and at the core of all of this, is it realizing that we are enough? Is that what's at the core of all of this work?
So that we are enough. That perfectionism is not a destination. We can always work on trying to be better people, but at the same time, we are enough the way we are. So once we start with that acceptance of who we are, then we can kind of work with understanding, and then like it allows us to better observe what is happening to us because we are not so emotionally attached to that fear or that anger that has consumed us from such a life-threatening event in our lives. And from that, then we can start trusting and surrendering into that process, and then healing starts happening. So then we can receive treatment better, and then we can have the fun that we are supposed. We don't stop living along the way.
Ah, I love it. I love it. and just having that level of enoughness just changes everything.
Everything.
I am a recovering perfectionist, and I say recovering because I'm still in process. But as a survivor of family and domestic violence, that me not enoughness is one of the things that facilitated
Right.
me being a victim,
Right.
because I lived that. I leaned into others being more than me, and
Right.
just didn't know how to create the boundaries. I didn't see the red flags. I just didn't put myself first because I didn't think that I was enough. So I love this, that at the core of the work that you do is asking people to have a look, you are enough,
Right.
and work with that box being ticked so that you can move forward and make a difference. So now, do you work with people with programs, or do you work one-on-one with them? How do you do your magical work?
It's mostly one-on-one right now because I'm still trying to figure out how best to go about moving into this world. And I too had to learn how to be an entrepreneur, to do it on my own. So I'm doing one-on-one, and I feel like that because every person's story is different, even though the model is the same, every person's stories and thus every person's needs and how every person responds to it is different. So I can't use one size for everybody. I could use breath awareness for one person, but then for another person, it may make them very anxious. Some people may be doing too much of a good thing, and some people may not be doing enough of a good thing. So how do you bring that balance when there are two different people? So that is why I think working one-on-one allows for that space as well, where they don't feel threatened or they don't have to compare themselves to somebody else. So it's one-on-one, and it's by Zoom that I do it. And when we meet, I introduce myself for like 30 seconds or less, and then I'm handing it over to them to tell me their story. And as they're telling me their story, I'm kind of just understanding where they're coming from, but I'm also getting the medical information that I need and then try to weave it all in as we go along.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This conversation is resonating with you. Reach out. The links will be in the show notes and in the show description so that you can have a chat moving forward. I love it. I love it. If you're listening today and you're a survivor of family and or domestic violence, reach out to Healing Through Love. We have pamper days. So think day spa on steroids, where you come along and it's all free. You come along as a survivor and you have 25 different practitioners. So think hairdressers, makeup artists, we have chakra linings, you have neck and shoulder massage. Pick the therapy, it's in the room. And we've got these lovely little sections, quadrant off, and you get to experience a day full of love, really. These women want to pay it forward because they've had their own experiences. They're now running their own businesses, their own practices, and they want to pay it forward to show you what's possible for your life. If you're listening today and you are a practitioner and you want to lean into creating an environment like this, or volunteering and assisting us with one of our events, which are now global, 2023, Healing Through Love went global, and we have these beautiful pamper days all around the world. So reach out to us if you're a practitioner or a survivor, and we'd love to connect you with the right people, put you in the right proximity for growth. I love it. This has been a beautiful conversation. I love the work. I'm a huge fan. I'm also a recovered holistic psychologist, so I do get the breath work. And I look, rebirthing is one of my favorite tools to use. Can knock you for six, but it's quite magical. And I start my day with breath work. For me, it just helps me get onto, it actually helps me just tune into the right frequency. So, and it also for me, breath work is my self-care. So it's how I take care of myself. It's how I regulate. And
Beautiful.
it's also how I up level as well. So when I'm
Right.
ready to do something next level, I usually, I go to my breath work because it is like, it's my go-to for
Right.
everything, and everyone can do
That's
it.
awesome.
I love it.
Anyone can do it anywhere. It's free.
Absolutely. Especially if I'm getting on stage to do a big keynote. Oh, I'm in the green room doing breath work. That's where I'm doing.
Awesome.
And hoping that my microphone's not turned on while I'm doing it. I love it. So look, just in closing today, I'd love you to share your final words of wisdom to our listeners today.
Know that you're enough and be kind to yourself.
Oh, short, sharp, and shiny. I love it. Thank you for joining us today. It's a goodbye from us at Healing Through Love, and a goodbye from you. Bye for now.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.